Hello everyone, in this video I will make a coffee table. This is not an educational video or tutorial. I just show you what I'm messing around with in my workshop. These two logs you see here I used for the tabletop. One is ash from a lumber shop and the other one is walnut cut from a tree from a friend's garden. The walnut unfortunately got infected by some fungus already, but I see this as a part of nature. I think it will give the table some extra contrasting areas. Both pieces should be already really dry as they're lying around for years now. These two pieces are sufficient for the tabletop. For the legs I will also use such a piece of ash like this one here.
The first step is to create a reference surface here on the bottom of this piece of lumber to be able to cut it later on in the bandsaw. So now I'm trying to put this into my resawing jig here. So I can now again align this. Now I have a plain surface on that side and a raw saw cut here, which is approximately perpendicular to the reference surface. But to make sure, I will go over it with the planer. I set this guide to 90 degrees and will only pick away 0.5 millimeter. Okay. So now we have three nice surfaces. That was the original first plane surface. Then we planed that one perpendicular to that one, and now this got parallel to that one. What I can do now is cut this approximately in half. I don't need to be too precise for that cut. And then plane this piece and this piece to the same thickness. So I was planing now all these pieces on the planer. So they should now be at the same height and perfectly line up. And now I'm gluing them.
For the gluing I usually use slow curing epoxy. It is fairly cheap and gives an excellent bond and is easily grindable once it is cured. As a next step, I'm attempting to apply some pressure between the boards to glue them together. I don't own large clamps suitable for this job. As a workaround, I'm first mounting this fence on the bench, and then I drive in some scrap wood wedges between the board and the fence to apply pressure in the gluing interface. To keep the boards flush, I put some weights on them.
So the gluing is done. I removed all the clamps and the weights, and it worked quite nicely. So these gaps are really closed. the legs are going to be produced out of this board of ash, and the height of the table should be 52 centimeters. So to have some play, I will cut off pieces now of 55 centimeters from here. Okay, this piece is also twisted and has a bowl shape like that. So when I put it in that surface, it's wiggling like a swing of children. I'll push it down here and go with my moving device. Okay, that's enough. You see, this is still hollow, but I have around it a nice surface. Go with the edge one more time, because this is an edge from the bandsaw, and it's not even and not straight, but a few passes, so one or two passes over the joint there will give it a nice finish. So. Okay, done. So the next step is to turn this around, put this into the planer, remove or make this surface parallel to the bottom surface, then turn it around again and take away enough, so take away some material to also make this nice and clean. Nice and thick legs. So I will now cut here the board out of this piece of scrap wood for the puzzle connectors, puzzle piece connectors. That's okay.
For milling the leg joint, I use my simple CNC router. I removed a part of the machine base in order to mount the leg stock vertically in the machine. You see here the simple guide from MDF that is keeping the exact angle of the stock material. The puzzle connectors are cut from the thin walnut log that we prepared previously. They will be used to connect the ash and the walnut strips of the tabletop.
Papa, was machst du jetzt?
I'm now milling the female parts for the legs into the tabletop, and I'm milling them in a pocket style. So not only the profile, but I'm milling it in a pocket. Why? Because this milling cutter here has only a small portion of cutting blades, but I'm cutting very deep, so almost the full length here. And I'm afraid that the dust will not come out, because the dust is only transported till here and not upward here, and I would like to avoid clogging the milling path. This went not out well. This is the top surface. It should be the visible surface of the table, and the collet of the CNC mill was grinding here on that surface. I did not clamp the milling cutter long enough. I have a very small step here. I hope to be able to sand this out. Now I'm cutting the pockets for these inserts, and I think it would be nice to have them all in parallel. So these are the pockets for the legs, and here I will make the pocket for this inlay. This inlay are 11 millimeter thick, so I'm cutting the pocket 10 millimeter deep to let enough material stick out that can be sanded away, just to be on the safe side. So this looks nice, looks like vanilla and chocolate. So let's try the fit. Why is that again so tight? Okay, next try. Now a negative allowance of 200 again. Okay, that's okay. As you might remember, these three pieces are just glued. There are no dowels or any connectors inside these interfaces here. That's why I will mill now also pockets into this bottom surface. This is the bottom surface of the tabletop, to connect those pieces. So I don't know, let's see, maybe like that. And the same thing here on the opposite side. This wood wool here, these wood fibers on the edges of our pocket indicate that the miller was dull. So I'm using 120 grit sandpaper and the grinding front. Okay. Gluing is finished. I waited this one because I had the feeling that it was not going in well, so next try. infiltrating the surfaces with epoxy, as this is end grain partly. It is soaking a lot of it. For filling gaps, I'm taking epoxy with cotton filler.
I'm filling tiny gaps and cracks with epoxy. I am wetting the surface to raise the grain that was compressed during sanding. After letting it dry, I give the tabletop a very last sanding pass. For the surface finish, I'm using 2 coats of linseed oil. It creates a rather robust surface and enhances the grain pretty nicely. A disadvantage is, unfortunately, that it gives a yellowish appearance to the ash parts, but for me it's fine.